This is my boyfriend. Evelyn Hart said it so calmly that for one full second, Jack Callahan thought he had misheard her. Then her father stood up, her mother gasped into her napkin, and Jack's fork slipped from his fingers and struck the edge of his plate with a bright, humiliating sound. The dining room went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that made every breath feel like evidence. Jack looked at Evelyn first, because she was the only person in the room who had not changed expression. She sat beside him in a black silk blouse, hair pinned low, gray eyes steady, one hand resting near her wineglass as if she had just announced rain, not detonated his life in front of her parents. Her father's chair scraped back another inch. "Excuse me?" Edward Hart said. Jack had met the man 12 minutes ago. Edward Hart was tall, silver-haired, clean-shaven, and dressed like old money had filed him into human shape. He had already asked Jack what he did, where he went to school, whether his family was local, and whether market analytics was a permanent career track or a transitional role. Every question had landed with the soft violence of polished silver. Evelyn folded her hands in her lap. "This is Jack," she said. "My boyfriend." Jack turned his head toward her slowly. Her face did not change. Under the table, her hand moved. Two cool fingers closed around his wrist. Lightly. Not affection. Not performance. Panic. That was the first thing that saved her. If she had looked smug, he would have burned the lie down in front of the roast chicken. If she had looked calculating, he would have stood up, thanked her mother for dinner, and walked into the cold without his coat. But her fingers trembled once against his pulse. Just once. "Please." Jack swallowed the sentence that would have destroyed her. Helen Hart's eyes filled with tears so quickly it hurt to watch. She was elegant, soft-featured, and fragile in the way women became when hope had been postponed too many times. "Oh," she whispered. "Evelyn." Edward's gaze cut to Jack. "How long?" Jack opened his mouth. Evelyn answered first. "A few months." Jack closed his mouth. "A few months. Good to know." Edward laughed once without humor. "A few months." "Yes." "And you didn't think to tell us you were dating an employee?" Jack said, "Technically, I'm not directly under her." Evelyn's grip tightened. Edward's eyes narrowed. "That is your defense?" "No," Jack said. "That was me learning the charges." Helen made a tiny sound. Evelyn's mouth moved almost imperceptibly, but she shut it down before it could become anything useful. Edward remained standing. "This is inappropriate." "Yes," Jack said. Evelyn turned her face toward him. The look in her eyes was sharp enough to draw blood. Jack looked back. "You wanted a boyfriend. You got one with opinions." Edward's voice hardened. "You understand that, Mr. Callahan?" Jack set his fork down properly this time. "I understand a lot of things are happening faster than they were explained to me." The sentence landed. Helen looked at Evelyn. Evelyn's fingers went still on Jack's wrist. There it was. The crack. Edward saw it too. His expression changed from shock to suspicion. "You didn't tell him." Evelyn said nothing. Edward's jaw tightened. "Evelyn." Jack felt her hand begin to withdraw. He caught it. Not visibly. Not romantically. He simply turned his wrist under the table and pressed his thumb once against her knuckles. "Stay still." Her breath hitched. Edward said, "Did you bring this man here and lie to our faces without even giving him the courtesy of knowing his role?" Helen put a hand to her mouth. Evelyn's face went pale, but her voice stayed even. "I told you he was my boyfriend." "No," Edward said. "You said a word. That does not make it true." Jack looked at the man across the table. Then he smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised how often words start problems." Edward stared at him. "Do you think this is funny?" "No." "Then why are you smiling?" "Because if I stop, I may say something expensive." For the first time all night, Evelyn looked like she might lose control. Not in a dramatic way. Nothing loud. Her eyes simply widened, and the smooth mask she wore at work slipped by a fraction. Enough for Jack to see fear beneath the perfect skin and expensive blouse. Fear of her father. Fear of him. Fear of what she had just done. Edward pointed at the empty chair behind him. "Sit down, Evelyn." She did not. Helen whispered, "Honey, please." Evelyn stood. Her hand left Jack's. The loss of contact irritated him more than it should have. "I'm not a child," she said. Edward's mouth tightened. "Then stop behaving like one." There it was. The sentence struck her somewhere old. Jack saw it happen. Evelyn Hart, senior strategy director, feared by half the 37th floor, famous for cutting useless presentations into bones, absorbed her father's words like a girl who had been trained not to bleed at the table. Jack leaned back. Interesting, he said. Edward turned on him. What? You waited 13 minutes before making her age the issue. I had 12 in the pool. Helen blinked through tears. Evelyn looked at him as if she wanted to kill him and thank him in the same breath. Edward's voice dropped. You are out of line. Probably. This is a family matter. You introduced me as the scandal. Evelyn said quietly, Jack. Not warning this time. Something worse. A plea not to defend her too well. Jack looked at her. She shook her head once. Small. Controlled. Desperate. He hated that he understood. So he picked up his water glass and said nothing while Edward sat down like a man postponing execution until dessert. 2 nights earlier, Jack had been at his desk after 7, rewriting a forecast model no one would thank him for fixing. The office had thinned to blue monitor light, abandoned coffee cups, and the low hum of air conditioning. Outside the windows, Chicago moved in cold streaks of traffic. Inside, the carpet smelled faintly of burnt espresso and printer heat. He heard her before he saw her. Not footsteps. Evelyn Hart's heels were too quiet for that. He heard the pen. A soft turn. A faint tap against her finger. He looked up. She stood beside his desk in a charcoal coat, a black leather folder against her side, and that pen rotating between her fingers like a weapon she had forgotten how to put down. Do you have plans Saturday evening? She asked. Jack stared at her. When a woman like Evelyn Hart appeared at a junior employee's desk after hours, the correct emotional response was fear with a professional expression. Is this about the Henderson model? He asked. No. Is it about the vendor projections? No. Am I being fired somewhere festive? Her gaze dropped to his coffee cup, then returned to his face. Not tonight. That pause did not help. I need you to come to dinner with me. Jack waited. She did not elaborate. He leaned back. That sentence is missing several load-bearing details. My parents' house. Saturday. 6:30. No, her eyes sharpened slightly. No. No, you don't know what I'm asking. You said dinner with parents. That's enough for a preliminary ruling. She looked away. That was unusual. At work, Evelyn looked directly at people when she killed their ideas. She did not fidget. She did not soften. She did not ask twice. But now the pen moved faster. End over end. End over end. Jack noticed the faint shadow beneath her eyes. The small crease near her mouth. The way her coat was buttoned wrong at the top, one hole off. A mistake no one else in the office would survive mentioning. Why me? He asked. Because you don't panic. I once dropped an entire sandwich because my smoke detector beeped. You recover quickly. That sandwich never did. Something almost like a smile crossed her mouth, then vanished. Her phone lit up in her hand. Dad. She did not answer. The screen went dark. It lit again. Mom. Her thumb hovered. She rejected the call. Jack's irritation shifted. What is this really? He asked. A favor. No. That's what people call emergencies when they want them to sound optional. Her eyes lifted. For 1 second the office disappeared around them. My father is trying to push me back toward my ex-fiancé, she said. There it was. Not the whole story. Enough. Jack sat back. He'll be at dinner? No, you hesitated. My father likes surprises. That sounds hereditary. She ignored that. I need a buffer. A buffer, Jack repeated. Like software or emotional damage? Both, apparently. He looked at the pen in her hand. What did the ex do? Her jaw tightened. You don't have to answer, he said. I won't. Clean. Then after a pause she said, he cheated 3 weeks before the wedding. Jack's sarcasm went quiet. Evelyn's face did not. The invitations had been printed, she said. My mother had chosen the flowers. My father had already told everyone Daniel was like a son to him. The pen stopped. And now they want you to forgive him. My mother wants me to heal. My father wants me to be reasonable. Daniel wants me to admire his remorse. Jack rubbed one hand over his mouth. Saturday, she said. One dinner. I'll drive. You won't have to do much. No pretending? Her eyes held his half a second too long. No pretending, she said. He should have caught it. He didn't. At the dinner table, dessert had not arrived, and Jack was already living inside 3 lies. Lie 1. Evelyn had told him what he was walking into. Lie 2. He was calm. Lie 3. When she touched his wrist, he had only stayed because he was decent. Edward's attention stayed on him now. What does your family think of this relationship? Edward asked. Evelyn said, Dad. Jack answered before she could block it. My mother doesn't know. Edward smiled faintly. Interesting. Not really. I didn't know either. Helen flinched. Evelyn shut her eyes. Jack regretted it immediately. Not because it was false. Because it exposed her. Edward leaned forward. So you admit this is a lie? Jack looked at Evelyn. She opened her eyes. For a moment, he saw everything she was trying to hold together. The woman at work, the daughter at this table, the liar beside him, the wounded person underneath all three. He could ruin her. He could also save the wrong part of her. So he said, I admit I was surprised. Edward laughed coldly. That is not an answer. It's the only one you've earned so far. Silence cracked across the table. Helen whispered, Jack. Evelyn's fingers tightened around her napkin. Edward's face flushed. You come into my home, because your daughter asked me to. She used you. Yes. Evelyn turned to him. This time the pain was plain. Jack kept going because the truth had to land somewhere. She did. Without warning. Without consent. It was arrogant and unfair. Evelyn went still. Edward looked satisfied. Then Jack added, but I'm starting to understand why she thought this table required a shield. Helen's tears spilled. Edward's satisfaction vanished. Evelyn stared at Jack like he had just placed a loaded gun between them and stepped back. Her voice came low. Don't. He turned to her. Don't what? Make this noble. I'm not. You are. No, he leaned closer, not enough for anyone else to hear clearly. I'm making it honest. Her eyes flashed. You don't know enough to be honest. Then tell me. Her lips parted. Nothing came. Edward saw the gap and stepped into it. Evelyn, end this nonsense now. Jack watched her face harden again. The mask returned. No, Edward blinked. No. No, after he just admitted you used him? Yes. Why? Evelyn looked at Jack. For one dangerous second, the lie seemed to ask both of them what it wanted to become. Then she said, because he stayed. Jack's throat tightened. Edward sat back. Helen pressed a napkin under her eye. And Jack realized the night had already changed him in ways he could not build to poor judgment. The parking lot fight happened 46 minutes later. Evelyn walked ahead of him after dinner, shoulders straight, coat open despite the cold. Helen had hugged him twice. Edward had shaken his hand with enough pressure to declare war. The front door shut behind them. Jack waited until they reached the car. Then he said, keys. Evelyn turned. What? You're not driving. I'm fine. You just invented a boyfriend at dinner and told your father no like you were defusing a bomb. Fine is not on the menu. Her eyes narrowed. Give me the keys, Jack. No, I am still your boss. There it is. She froze. The parking lot light overhead buzzed. Rain had started, thin and cold, dotting the shoulders of her black coat. Jack stepped closer. You don't get to use authority now. Not after that. Her face went pale. I didn't mean, you did. That's the problem. She looked down. The movement hit him harder than anger would have. Evelyn Hart did not look down. I'm sorry, she said. Good start. I was wrong. Still short. She swallowed. I used you because I was desperate. That landed. Jack wanted to stay angry. Anger was clean. Anger let him walk away with his dignity pressed neatly under one arm. But Evelyn stood under a cheap parking lot light with rain gathering in her hair, no command in her voice, no executive polish left to hide behind. Like someone cornered. Why? He asked. She laughed once, bitter and soft. You met him. Your father? Yes. He's efficient. He thinks love is correction. Her arms folded across her chest. My mother cries when I refuse Daniel. My father goes silent. Daniel sends flowers to my office like persistence is proof of growth. Every family dinner turns into a trial where I'm the only witness and everyone else has already decided the verdict. Jack leaned against the car and let the rain hit his face. Why didn't you warn me? Because you would have said no. Yes. I couldn't risk that. That's not an apology. I know. Try again. She looked up. Her eyes shone but she did not cry. I'm sorry, she said. Not because you're angry. Because I treated your choice like something I could borrow. That one worked. Damn her. Jack looked toward the road. You understand this is insane. Yes. And unethical. Yes. And if HR hears one distorted version, I'll be known as the guy who dated upward with a spreadsheet. I know. Do you? Her jaw tightened. Then she said, I'll fix it. How? I'll tell them we broke up. When? Tomorrow. And then Daniel comes back. Silence. There it was. Her fear had a name and both of them disliked it. Jack held out his hand. She placed the keys in it. On the drive back, neither spoke for 10 minutes. The navigation voice filled the car. At a red light, Evelyn said, "I can offer you something." Jack laughed without humor. "If this becomes money, I'm getting out." "Not money." "Good. I'd hate to make it classy." "The Henderson Project. You've been doing work above your title. I can make sure you're credited." He looked at her. "No, you haven't heard. No, it's not favoritism if it's accurate. It becomes favoritism the second it's connected to this." Her hands closed in her lap. "I'm trying to make this fair." "You can't." The light changed. He drove. After a moment she said, "Then write the terms." "What?" "If you agree to continue, write the terms." He stared through the windshield. "You're assuming I'll agree." "No," she said. "I'm hoping you will." That word again. Oh. It had no business sounding that expensive. They wrote the agreement in her office the next morning before anyone else arrived. Evelyn placed a yellow legal pad between them. "No career favors," Jack said. She wrote it down. "No touching unless agreed." She wrote it down. "No kissing." Her pen paused. Jack lifted an eyebrow. She looked up. I paused because the phrasing was abrupt. "The rule is abrupt." She wrote it down. "No workplace behavior." Agreed. "No surprise declarations." She looked at him. He smiled without humor. "Underline that." She did. They continued. 3 months. Family events only. Either person could end it at any time. No interference with reviews, promotions, project assignments, or reporting lines. No invented personal history unless unavoidable. At that, Evelyn said, "We need a basic story. Our basic story is that you committed emotional fraud over poultry." Jack. "We met at work. We started talking after hours. It developed slowly. We kept it quiet because of policy." She studied him. "That is better than I expected. I contain multitudes. You contain irritants." Also true. For the first time that morning, her mouth softened. It disappeared quickly. But not before he saw it. They signed. Her handwriting was elegant, slanted, controlled. His looked like someone had signed while escaping a building. Evelyn looked at both signatures. "The strangest contract of my life," she said. "That's impressive. You work in corporate strategy." She exhaled something almost like a laugh. Then both of them looked at the line that said no kissing. The air changed. It was brief. It was also real. Jack stood first. "I'm going to pretend I didn't notice that." Evelyn capped the pen. "Notice what?" "Good." He left before noticing became a problem. The first fake date was a grocery store because Helen wanted pictures. Jack called it surveillance with produce. Evelyn called it normal couple behavior. "Normal couples do not schedule authenticity," Jack said. "They take photos. They also fight over hummus and split rent. You want the whole package." She put a $40 bottle of olive oil in the cart. Jack stared. "That bottle should come with a notarized apology." "It's good. It better do my taxes." She ignored him and picked up a box of bright orange macaroni. "Do you eat this?" "Only during financial instability or spiritual collapse." She read the label. "It has powder. So does espresso." "That is not the same category of powder." "Classist." She put it in the cart. He looked at her. "What?" she asked. "You just bought pity macaroni?" "I'm expanding culturally." "Careful. Next week you'll sit on public transit." "I have limits." He laughed. She looked at him quickly as if the sound had surprised her. Then she pulled out her phone. "Picture." "No, yes. I refuse to be romantically documented in front of boxed pasta." "Hold this." She handed him a baguette. He held it like a bat. She lowered the phone. "Could you look less like you're preparing for an invasion?" "I don't know your family well enough to rule that out." She laughed. Not the controlled office sound. A real laugh. It startled them both. Jack took the phone from her hand. "My turn." "No," he raised it anyway. She reached for it, hair slipping over one shoulder, gray eyes bright, mouth open in protest. He snapped the picture. She snatched the phone back. "Delete it." "No, it's awful." "It's honest." She looked at the photo. Her face changed. In the picture, she was beautiful in a way the office never allowed. Annoyed, laughing, unguarded, human. A woman passing with a shopping cart smiled. Cute couple. Evelyn went rigid. Jack said, "Thanks." She's with me for my bread work. The woman laughed and moved on. Evelyn's ears turned red. Jack stared. She snapped, "Don't. I haven't said anything. You were gathering material." "Professionally, yes." In the parking lot, she sent the photo to Helen. "That one?" Jack asked. "My mother likes personality." "You mean proof of life?" Evelyn shut the trunk. "My mother hasn't seen me look like that in years." The sentence slipped out before she could stop it. Jack said nothing. That was the first moment he realized silence could be more intimate than rescue. That night, they went to a movie because Evelyn said they needed ordinary evidence, and Jack said if she used that phrase again he would date her mother instead. Halfway through the film, Evelyn fell asleep. Her head tipped slowly against his shoulder. Jack froze. The theater was dark. The movie was boring. Her hair brushed his jaw. Her breathing evened out, warm through the sleeve of his jacket. He could move. He did not. His shoulder ached after 20 minutes. He stayed anyway. When the credits rolled, she woke with a sharp inhale. "Oh God. Strong review. I fell asleep on you. During a film that personally attacked pacing, yes. Did I drool? No. Would you tell me?" "Never." Her ears turned red again. Jack looked forward and smiled. She saw it. "Don't." Still nothing. Liar. Developing skill. The rumor started 2 weeks later. It moved through the office like a bad smell with a calendar invite. First came glances. Then silence when Jack entered the break room. Then Angela from procurement asking whether he and certain leadership figures had weekend plans. Then Mark Ellison decided to say the quiet part in a conference room. They were reviewing the Henderson project, which had become a slow-motion disaster with color-coded slides. Jack had rebuilt the vendor risk model. Mark had submitted an alternative analysis that was prettier, louder, and wrong. Evelyn sat at the head of the table. Mark leaned back. "Some of us don't have private access to senior leadership when our work needs attention." The room went cold. Jack kept his pen still. Evelyn looked up from the packet. "Clarify that." Mark smiled. "I think people understand." "I don't." His smile thinned. "There are concerns about objectivity." "Whose objectivity?" Pause. "Yours." Someone inhaled too sharply. Evelyn closed the packet. The sound was soft. "Dangerous. If you are accusing me of professional misconduct, use the words." Mark shifted. "If you are accusing Mr. Callahan of receiving preferential treatment, produce evidence." He said nothing. Evelyn slid 2 pages across the table. "Your model omits 3 vendor failure triggers, uses April regional assumptions and double counts projected retention. Jack's model catches all 3. That is why his version is under review and yours is in the appendix." Mark's face flushed. "That's one interpretation. It is math." Jack looked down at his notes. His chest felt strange. Not pride. Not gratitude. Something sharper. Being chosen publicly had weight. Being defended by the woman who had dragged him into a lie complicated every feeling he had tried to keep separate. Mark muttered, "Understood." Evelyn's voice stayed calm. "No. Say it clearly." His jaw worked. "Understood." "Good. Continue." After the meeting, Jack stayed behind. Evelyn erased the whiteboard with short, hard strokes. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Yes, I did." "You made him bleed." "He brought a dull knife." Jack almost smiled. She set the eraser down. White dust clung to her fingers. "I won't let them shrink your work because of me," she said. The words struck him harder than they should have. He looked at her. That sounded personal. It was. Outside the glass wall, people walked past with laptops and coffee cups and false urgency. Inside, they stood too close to a truth neither of them had permission to touch. Jack picked up his folder. "I'll send the revision by 6. Evelyn nodded. Neither moved. Then someone passed the conference room and looked in. Jack left first. The night the Henderson project almost died, Evelyn told him about Daniel. It was 2:41 a.m. The office was empty except for them and the building's mechanical hum. Rain hit the windows in hard diagonal lines. Jack had brought cold Thai noodles. Evelyn had 3 coffee cups on her desk, one untouched, one half full, one abandoned like evidence. A new vendor disclosure had destroyed 2 weeks of assumptions. They rebuilt everything. No speeches. No magic. Just ugly work. Jack recalculated exposure. Evelyn rewrote the pitch. They argued over one slide for 18 minutes. "It's too soft," she said. "It's accurate. It needs pressure. It has pressure. You just want it to bite." I like when things bite. That tracks. She gave him a look, but there was exhaustion behind it. At 3:26, she made a formula error. Jack caught it. She stared at the screen. I don't make formula errors. You do now. Welcome to the species. She stood abruptly and walked to the window. He watched her reflection in the glass. Barefoot now. Blouse sleeves rolled. Hair starting to fall loose from its pin. Beautiful, exhausted, furious at being human. Daniel used to say I was difficult to love, she said. Jack went still. No transition. No warning. Just the wound opening because fatigue had broken the lock. He said it at parties first, she continued. Like a joke. Everyone laughed. I laughed too because when a man says something cruel affectionately, you're expected to prove you're easy by not minding. Jack's hand tightened around his pen. Later when I found the messages he said it like a diagnosis. You make everything hard, F. You turn love into an audit. Rain struck the glass. I found out because I brought dinner to his apartment. Thai food. He loved Thai food. Her mouth twisted. There were 2 wineglasses in the sink. One had lipstick on it. The wedding invitations were on his counter. Jack said nothing. Good. She did not need noise. He cried, she said. He said it happened once. Then twice. Then he said he felt lonely. Then he said maybe if I had been softer, he wouldn't have needed somewhere soft to go. Jack stood. He poured water into a paper cup and walked over. She looked at it. It's not advice, he said. She took the cup. Their fingers touched. A small contact. Ridiculous impact. You're not difficult to love, Jack said. Her eyes lifted to his reflection. He kept his voice flat because anything warmer would have broken the moment. You're difficult to fool. Men like him hate the difference. The cup bent slightly in her hand. She looked away. For a long time neither spoke. Then she whispered, that was dangerously close to kind. I'll recover. A tear slipped down her face. She wiped it before it reached her jaw. Jack pretended not to see. That was the second time he understood silence could be loyalty. They finished the deck at dawn. Evelyn fell asleep in her chair while the file uploaded. Jack put the thin gray office blanket over her shoulders. She stirred. Did we win? No, her eyes stayed closed. Did we survive? Yes. Acceptable. He smiled despite himself. Then he left before wanting more became a decision. Edward Hart had Jack investigated. He admitted it at lunch. The invitation arrived through Helen, which made it more insulting. Jack met Edward at a private downtown club with dark wood, heavy carpet, and waiters trained to disappear before truth got ugly. Edward did not bother with small talk. You attended Wisconsin on scholarship, he said. Your mother was a nurse. Your father died when you were 21. No significant assets. Student debt mostly paid. Apartment in Logan Square. No criminal record. Jack picked up his coffee. It tasted burnt and expensive. You missed 2 parking tickets, he said. Sloppy. Edward's eyes hardened. My daughter is not a career opportunity. No, you are ambitious. I pay rent. You know what I mean. I know what you hope I'll be embarrassed by. Edward leaned forward. You work beneath her. Not at this table. You do not belong in her world. Jack felt it land. He hated that it landed. Men like Edward could turn ordinary into accusation. State school. Dead father. Working mother. 2 suits. Rent. Everything Jack had survived became, in Edward's mouth, evidence against him. Jack set the coffee down. Maybe not, he said. Edward's expression shifted, surprised. But she doesn't seem to breathe well in yours. Edward went still. Jack continued, she braces before answering your calls. She goes quiet when Daniel's name comes up. She apologizes for needing help like it costs her blood. You know nothing about my family. I know your daughter held my wrist under a dinner table because she was more afraid of disappointing you than humiliating herself. Edward's jaw tightened. And this, he said. Ask her. I'm asking you. That's your problem. Edward stood. You will hurt her. Jack looked up at him. Maybe, he said. But I won't make her pain about my inconvenience. Edward left first. That evening, Evelyn found out. She came to Jack's desk after most people had gone. My father met you. Yes. You didn't tell me. I planned to. When? Before death, ideally. Her face was pale. What did he say? Jack leaned back. He ordered steak salad. Jack. He had me investigated. He told me I don't belong in your world. He implied I was using you. Her eyes sharpened with anger. Not embarrassment. Anger. He did what? That was the high-level summary. She turned away, breathing hard. I'll speak to him. No, she turned back. No. If you storm in, he wins. He gets to say I ran to you. He humiliated you. He tried. Do not make this smaller. Jack stopped. Her voice had cracked. Just slightly. He stood. I'm not ashamed of where I come from. I know. Do you? Her face changed. She stepped closer. Yes, she said. I know. The answer came too fast to be polite. Too fierce to be fake. Then she reached up and straightened his tie. It was barely crooked. Her fingers lingered at his collar. The office around them held its breath. Jack did not move. Evelyn realized what she was doing and dropped her hand. Sorry. Don't apologize for that. Her eyes lifted. The air between them tightened. Then the elevator dinged down the hall, and both of them stepped back like guilty people. The kiss happened at Evelyn's aunt's anniversary party. It was not supposed to happen. That became their official position. The party was crowded, loud, expensive, and cruelly well lit. Evelyn wore a dark red dress. Jack wore a rented tux and spent the first 20 minutes trying not to look at her like an idiot. Daniel was there. Of course he was. He approached with a practiced half-smile, perfect hair, perfect suit, perfect regret. Evelyn. She stopped beside Jack. Her face became glass. Daniel. His eyes moved to Jack. You must be Jack. Must be. Daniel offered his hand. Jack shook it. Too warm. Too confident. Too familiar with rooms he had no right entering anymore. I've heard a lot, Daniel said. Then I'm at a disadvantage. Daniel smiled. Evelyn always did like men who could keep up. Jack looked at her. Her face had gone pale. Daniel leaned slightly closer. Can we speak privately? No, Evelyn said. Ev. Jack felt her flinch at the nickname. He stepped in before thinking. She said no. Daniel's smile thinned. I'm sorry, this is between us. No, Jack said. The moment you ignored her answer, you made it public. Daniel's eyes cooled. Edward appeared behind him like a summoned problem. Daniel, Edward said warmly. Evelyn's hand tightened around her clutch. Jack saw it. So did Edward. So did Daniel. Aunt Margaret saved no one. There they are, she called, sweeping in with a glass of champagne and the confidence of a woman who believed discomfort was seasoning. The couple. Come here, we're doing photos. Evelyn said, no, nonsense. Your mother wants one good picture. Margaret waved them toward the staircase. And don't stand like co-workers. Kiss him. Evelyn's face went red. Not shy. Angry. Jack leaned close. We can leave. Daniel watched. Edward watched. Helen watched from across the room with one hand pressed to her necklace. Evelyn looked at Jack. Her voice was low. 1 second. His chest tightened. Your call. He touched her waist lightly. Question. Permission. Warning. She stepped closer. Answer. He bent his head. The kiss was meant to be brief. It was not. Her mouth met his carefully, then changed. Her fingers closed on his lapel. Jack forgot the staircase, the camera, Daniel, Edward, the rules, the room. She tasted like champagne and peppermint and one terrible decision becoming honest in real time. 1 second passed. Then another. He pulled back first. Barely. Evelyn's eyes opened slowly. She looked shaken. So was he. The camera clicked. Margaret clapped. Perfect. Daniel's face had gone white. Edward looked furious. Helen looked like she had just understood everything. In the car afterward, Evelyn stared through the windshield. That was for the photo, she said. Jack kept both hands on the wheel. Was it? Don't. Okay. I mean it. I said okay. Rain moved across the glass. After a long silence, she whispered, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Jack looked at the road. Me neither. The agreement was found by accident. Helen came to Evelyn's apartment with soup after Evelyn missed brunch and sounded tired on the phone. Evelyn was in the shower. Helen saw papers near the entry table. She thought one was the charity schedule. It was the yellow legal pad page. 3 months. Family events only. No career favors. No workplace affection. No kissing. No surprise declarations. Helen called Evelyn. Evelyn called Jack. He was at a laundromat watching one of his socks tumble behind glass like a small trapped animal. They know, she said. His hand tightened around the phone. How? My mother found the agreement. Jack closed his eyes. What do you need? Silence. Then, I don't know. I'm coming. No, Evelyn. No. Don't come because you feel responsible. He stood there between humming dryers and folding tables, a basket of damp clothes at his feet. I'm not. Then why? He had no safe answer. So he gave the honest one badly. Because I don't like how your voice sounds right now. She was quiet. Then she said, that's worse. I know. He went anyway. Her apartment was too clean for someone falling apart. Cream sofa, glass table, books arranged by subject, soup untouched on the kitchen counter. Evelyn stood barefoot near the window in black trousers and a gray sweater. The legal pad page lay on the coffee table. My mother cried, she said. Jack stepped inside. Expected. My father said I made fools of them. Also expected. She turned. Can you stop making jokes? Yes. Will you? Unclear. Her mouth trembled. Not laughter. Not yet. This has to end, she said. Jack went still. The arrangement, she added. Right. The lie. Yes. And anything else. There it was. The wound beneath the paperwork. Jack looked at her. What else? She folded her arms. Don't. Name it. No, then don't end it. Her eyes flashed. You don't get to make this simple. I'm not. I'm asking you to stop making it vague. I am your boss. I noticed. You are already being talked about. I noticed that too. My father can make this ugly. Seems to be a hobby. Jack. Her voice broke on his name. He stopped. Evelyn pressed her fingers to her mouth, fighting for control and losing. I can't be the reason your career gets questioned. You aren't. I am. You're not that powerful. She laughed once, wet and furious. I am exactly that powerful in the way that hurts you. He hated the truth of that. So he gave her his. I have an interview with Westbridge. She froze. When? Friday. You didn't tell me. No, because of this? Because of me. Her eyes filled. I need a job that doesn't run through your office, he said. If anything real survives this, it can't be under your nameplate. She sat down slowly. If anything real survives this, she repeated. Jack's throat tightened. He moved one step toward her. She lifted a hand. Don't. He stopped. Don't be kind to me right now. Okay. If you touch me, I'll ask you to stay. His chest hurt. Then I won't. That broke her. Not beautifully. Not delicately. She bent forward, covered her mouth, and cried like someone furious at her own body for betraying discipline. Jack stood 6 feet away and did nothing. It was the hardest kind of tenderness he knew. When she could breathe again, she whispered, You should leave. He nodded. At the door he looked back. She sat alone with the agreement beside her. He said, It wasn't all fake. She closed her eyes. He left before she could answer. The resignation letter was 3 paragraphs. Dry. Professional. A coward's masterpiece. Jack brought it to Evelyn Monday morning. She was standing behind her desk, already pale. No, she said. He closed the door. You haven't read it. I don't need to. It's notice. I know. Then read it. No, he stared at her. She came around the desk. You don't get to hand me a resignation letter like a moral receipt. That's not what this is. It is exactly what this is. Evelyn. No, her voice shook. You're leaving because of me. I'm leaving because I accepted a better job. Don't insult me. The words hit hard. He looked at her. Her eyes were bright, furious, terrified. You think if you leave cleanly this becomes noble, she said. It doesn't. It becomes you leaving and me understanding why, and both of us pretending that understanding is the same as not being hurt. Jack's hand tightened around the envelope. Outside the glass wall, the office moved with normal cruelty. Laptops. Coffee. Meetings. People passing close enough to see Evelyn Hart lose control and pretending not to. I can't stay under you, Jack said. A laugh escaped her. Broken. Unfortunate phrasing. Despite everything he almost smiled. So did she. Then the smile died. I know, she said. I know you can't. That is the worst part. He set the letter on her desk. She stared at it. A tear slipped down her face. She looked offended by it. Jack did not move. She wiped it away too late. I did this, she said. No, yes. I pulled you into my family because I was scared. I offered career help like an idiot. I let them talk about you. I let myself. She stopped. Jack's breath caught. You let yourself what? Her eyes lifted. There was the real Cliff. I let myself look for you, she said. The sentence nearly ended him. He stepped closer. She did not step back. He still did not touch her. "I'm not disappearing," he said. "You don't know that." "No, I hate that answer. It's the only honest one I have." She nodded, tears still falling silently. He picked up the letter, placed it in her hand, and closed her fingers around it. 2 weeks, he said. She looked at their hands. Then at him. "I won't ask you to stay." "I know. But I want to." His jaw tightened. "That counts." The last family dinner began without Jack. Evelyn went alone. That was what she told him by text. "I need to clean up my own lie." He stared at the message for a long time. Then replied, "Eat first. Your father weaponizes timing." She wrote back, "That was almost sweet." He answered, "Don't spread rumors." He did not plan to go. At 4 he told himself not to go. At 5 he put on a white shirt. At 5:20 he bought tulips for Helen because arriving empty-handed felt like confirming Edward's worst assumptions. At 6:10 he stood outside the Hart house in the rain and heard Edward through the door. "If that man steps into this house again, I want him to understand what he is." Evelyn's voice answered, low and steady. "He already does." Jack knocked. Evelyn opened the door. For 1 second the entire story passed between them. The first lie. The wrist under the table. The grocery store photo. The conference room. The kiss. The legal pad. The resignation letter. She looked at the tulips. "You came." Traffic was bad. Her mouth moved. Then she stepped aside. Inside, Edward stood at the dining table. Helen held a napkin in both hands. No one looked surprised enough. That meant they had all hoped and feared he would appear. Edward's eyes dropped to the flowers. "Another performance?" Jack handed them to Helen. "These are for your wife." Helen took them and began crying immediately. Edward's jaw tightened. Jack looked at him. "We can do this standing or sitting." "Standing feels theatrical." Evelyn whispered, "Jack." He looked at her. This time there was no plea in her eyes. Only fear that he would be hurt. That was new. That mattered. He sat. Edward remained standing. "Why are you here?" Jack placed both hands on the table. "Because the first time she called me her boyfriend, it was a lie." Evelyn went still. Jack continued, "If she ever does it again, I want it to be her choice." Helen covered her mouth. Edward's face hardened. "Convenient." "No," Jack said. "Inconvenient. That's how I can tell it's real." Evelyn sat slowly beside him. Not touching. Close enough to change his breathing. Edward said, "Real?" Jack looked at Evelyn. She looked back. No agreement. No script. No protection. He turned to her parents. "At first I was a shield." She panicked. "I stayed because I saw what panic cost her. Then we made an agreement, which was stupid and unfair and probably the least romantic document ever written on a yellow legal pad." Helen let out a broken laugh. Evelyn's eyes filled. "I told myself I was helping," Jack said. "Then I told myself I was trapped. Then I told myself it was only attraction. Then she fell asleep on my shoulder in a movie theater and woke up embarrassed enough to threaten me with silence." Evelyn laughed through tears once. Jack's voice roughened. "Then she defended my work in front of people who wanted to turn me into gossip. Then she told me Daniel made her feel difficult to love, and I realized I wanted to spend a dangerous amount of time proving him wrong." Edward looked away. Jack leaned forward. "I am not here as her employee. I resigned. I accepted another job. I won't let anyone use my position to question what she built." Evelyn covered her mouth. "I am not here for your approval," he said to Edward. "I am not here to argue that I belong in your world. I don't care about your world. I care about whether she can breathe in it." Helen sobbed softly. Edward's face changed. Finally. Not surrender. Impact. Jack turned to Evelyn. "I don't know when it became real," he said. "I just know it did." Her tears spilled. "I know," she whispered. The words were barely sound. Edward sat down. For the first time, he looked less like a judge than a father who had discovered the verdict had cost him his daughter's trust. Evelyn turned to him. "Dad, I lied. I hurt you. I hurt Mom. I hurt Jack." Her voice shook but held. "I am sorry for that." Helen nodded, crying. "But Daniel is not coming back into my life. Not through dinner. Not through charity events. Not through your concern. I said no 4 years ago. I am saying no again." Edward's mouth tightened. Evelyn continued, "And Jack is not my rebellion." Jack looked down. That hit somewhere deep. "He was at first," she said, glancing at him with a watery, guilty smile. "A little." "Accurate," Jack said. Helen laughed through tears. Evelyn looked back at her father. Now he is my choice. Edward stared at her. Then at Jack. Then at the table. The food had gone cold. No one cared. Edward said quietly, I thought I was protecting you. Evelyn's face softened and hardened at once. I know, she said. But you were protecting the version of me that made sense to you. Helen reached for her daughter's hand. Evelyn took it. Edward did not apologize. Not then. Men like Edward needed time to cross the distance between shame and speech. But after a long silence, he looked at Jack and said, The wine is good. Evelyn's eyes widened. Jack looked at the glass. He took a sip. It tasted like wet furniture with a trust fund. He set it down. It has confidence. Helen laughed so hard she cried again. Evelyn dropped her forehead into her hand, shoulders shaking. Even Edward's mouth moved. Almost. Not forgiveness, but room. Sometimes room was the first thing love had to rebuild. 2 weeks later, Jack left Hartwell and Kane with a cardboard box, one dying plant, and half the office pretending not to watch. Mark Ellison stood near the coffee machine. Last day, Mark said. Hope Westbridge works out. Jack stopped. 3 analysts froze. Mark smiled. No hard feelings. Jack shifted the box against his hip. About what? Mark's smile thinned. Everything. Jack looked at him for a long second. Then he said, You'll need to be more specific. Mediocrity made you broad. One analyst choked on coffee. Jack walked away. At the elevators, Evelyn was waiting. Black suit. White blouse. Hair pinned. Eyes not as steady as she wanted them to be. Elegant, she said. I'm maturing. Unclear. They stepped into the elevator. 37 floors down, neither spoke. At the lobby, the doors opened. Jack held out his hand. Evelyn looked at it. That feels awful. Corporate closure. I hate it. Your management. Hating rituals is most of the job. She took his hand. Cool. Firm. Familiar. They shook once. Then she did not let go. People crossed the lobby around them. Phones rang. Security watched nothing important. Evelyn looked at their hands. Then up at him. I'll see you, she said. Not a question. A claim. Jack nodded. You will. She let go first. He walked out into the cold with the box in his arms and his whole life rearranging itself around absence. Their first real date was at a diner with bad coffee and pie that tasted better than dignity. Evelyn arrived 5 minutes late and looked annoyed at herself. Jack stood. Don't, she said. I wasn't going to. You were. I was. She sat. The waitress brought coffee. Evelyn took one sip and winced. This tastes like litigation. I warned you in spirit. For 10 minutes they tried to talk like normal people. They were bad at it. Work came up. They killed it. Her parents came up. They survived it. Daniel came up because Evelyn brought him. He sent flowers, she said. Jack's jaw tightened. To your office? Yes. What did you do? Returned them. With a note. No, cruel. Efficient. Same family. She smiled. Then her smile faded. I spent 4 years thinking the worst thing Daniel did was cheat, she said. It wasn't. Jack waited. He made me suspicious of wanting anything. That landed. Jack put his coffee down. I'm not asking you to be easy. Her eyes lifted. I don't want easy, he said. I want honest. Difficult has instructions. Dishonest is where people bleed out. Evelyn looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and put her hand over his. No audience. No panic. No lie. Slowly, she said. Jack turned his palm upward, lacing their fingers. Painfully adult, he said. She smiled. Can you manage it? Unclear. Try. Yes, ma'am. Her eyes narrowed. He smiled. She did too. 3 months later, Helen invited him to Sunday lunch. Evelyn read the message while sitting on Jack's kitchen counter in one of his old sweatshirts, looking too beautiful for his bad cabinets. She says she's making lemon chicken. Threat or bribe? Both. She's learning. Evelyn looked at him. You don't have to come. Yes, I do. No, you don't. He stepped between her knees and rested his hands on the counter beside her hips. He did not touch her until she leaned forward. She did. I don't want you walking into that house alone every time things get hard, he said. I can handle my father. I know. I handled him before you. I know. Then why? Because handling isn't the same as being held. Her face changed. There. A clean hit. She touched his jaw. Careful. she whispered. That was almost poetic. I'll recover. She kissed him first. That part never stopped surprising him. At lunch, Edward opened the door. Jack. Edward. The truth still sounded like paperwork. Helen hugged him. You're too thin. I've been too thin every time you've seen me. And yet you refuse to improve. Evelyn said, he's stubborn. Jack looked at her. Betrayal. Accuracy. Lunch was tense for 12 minutes. Then Edward asked about Westbridge. Jack answered. Evelyn challenged one of Edward's assumptions about vendor exposure. Edward challenged hers. Jack corrected both of them. Edward stared. You disagree with both of us? Yes. At my table? Location doesn't change math. Helen hid a smile. Evelyn looked at Jack with open pride. Edward saw it. So did Jack. That look changed the room more than any apology. After dessert, Edward set down his fork. Evelyn closed her eyes. Dad. I haven't said anything. You breathed like a preface. Helen laughed. Edward ignored them and looked at Jack. When are you two getting married? The table froze. Jack looked at Evelyn. Evelyn stared at her father. Helen whispered, Edward. What? Edward said. I'm being welcoming. You are being terrifying, Evelyn said. It was a simple question. It was an ambush in formal wear. Jack leaned back. To be fair, this family enjoys ambush. Evelyn turned to him. Do not encourage him. Edward looked almost pleased. Helen was crying again but laughing this time. Under the table, Evelyn took Jack's hand. No tremor. No plea. No performance. Jack squeezed once. Then he looked at Edward. We'll inform the committee after internal review. For 1 second Edward stared. Then he laughed. Short. Rusty. Surprised out of him. Evelyn's hand tightened around Jack's. Helen covered her heart. Jack looked at Evelyn. She was smiling at her father, stunned and soft and still a little afraid to trust the moment. Then she looked at him. What? She asked. Nothing. That never means nothing. It means I'm documenting. Internally? I shredded the legal pad. Her eyes warmed. Later, at a grocery store, an older woman smiled at them near the pasta aisle and asked, Are you two together? The first time Evelyn had called him her boyfriend, Jack had almost dropped his fork. This time she did not freeze. She did not look at him for permission. She simply picked up the boxed macaroni he liked, put it in the cart and said, Yes. Jack looked at her. Evelyn raised one eyebrow. What? He shook his head. Nothing. Liar. He smiled. Not anymore.